Luke, I feel your pain, man. This is a really hard thing to talk about. Um, and I think you said you kept uploading. I just want to see why you keep uploading, doing these direct uploads. I think if you maybe you just don't have a separate video program because when you do the direct uploads, you don't get to, once in a while you'll see my videos like have clips because I'll start. Um, Usually, I'll just if I pause for a long time or I start talking about something in a way that I'm like, well, nobody's gonna understand what the hell I'm trying to say. I just stop it before I stop making sense and just split clips up and stuff. So I don't usually do the direct uploads unless I just have something real quick to say. Um, but anyways, this is my whole perspective on this issue. We're trying to define art, but the problem with art is it's always redefining itself. You can never, think of Pollock. Pollock wasn't an artist until one critic said, wow, this guy's doing something special and unique, and we have to redefine art and allow this into the art studios because in the museums because this is amazing stuff. And that's what's always happening. Art is always transcending itself. There's never any permanent pattern to what art is. You can never restrict art to specific categories because that's what separates. I know there's conceptual art, but art in itself is not the same thing as science or as rational, logical, abstract, analytical thought. These are two separate areas of human thinking. Um, and if you want to break this up, there's art is something that has to do with the individual experience of life for me. Science, words, logic, definitions, linguistic analysis, that has to do with the third person it world of objective things that we can empirically prove and logically prove, and that's not, there's the I world over here, the first person world, and then there's the it world over here, and they're not really separate, but it's like you said, it's a graded scale, it's a gradient, and but I think that's when we're talking about art, we're so far over to this individual experience side or collective experience side, whatever. There's just the internal, expressive kind of subjective stuff that art has to do with is very distant from the objective and scientific and specific and finite definitions and stuff that you'll find in the scientific world. Um, and not only that, but there's this whole other level going on between all these conversations that we're trying to define art while making art, right? So art itself, the actual thing, art in the world that we're all trying to figure out, is what we're doing right now, and it's evolving and it's changing, and we're changing it as we try to define it. And so we're chasing our own tails, and we're never going to find those right words because we could invent some new words and apply them to these categories that we're breaking art up into, but eventually those words are going to get tired and overused and misconstrued, and we're going to end up right back where we started. And so I'm not saying we shouldn't create these discrete categories and stuff, but we just have to understand that it's an ongoing process, and we're never going to arrive at the correct definition of anything. But that being said, let's go try to make some definitions work. You talked about expressive art being experimental and that this was different than conceptual art because experimental expressive art is based on more pure creativity that you can't put into cultural boxes. You can't understand the purpose necessarily behind it. And conceptual art, what you said about the amazing atheist saying that if you have some kind of conceptual art where the certain parameters are handed down from you from some producer or whatever, and you have to fill in the space between these discrete plot points or whatever, is that art? Well, that is restricted in some sense. It's not It's not totally original because original art doesn't come from anyone else. Original art comes from the source of creativity itself. Origin, as in that which is at the center of creation. It's the origin. Um, so it comes from the center of the self. It's not given from some other outside agency to the self to fill in the blanks. It's original. It's not. It's original and new are not the same. New means never been tried before. Original means ever present. It's always there. It's always being tried and expressed in different ways. Or an original piece of art would line back up with that and refresh people's minds, getting rid of the conceptual baggage and the stuff that's built up over time and it's sort of damming up the river of expression. But that doesn't necessarily mean that these conceptual pieces of art like the KFC advertisements aren't art. It just means there's another level of control imposed upon them, and they have a specific purpose, or at least they think they have a specific purpose. I think this issue of purposeful art and accidental art or random art is important because you said a shooting star can be considered art, but it's a random kind of art, whereas a human piece of artwork it has some purpose behind it because the human beings somehow are separate from nature, and human beings have this purposiveness, and that they can assign meaning to things and have goals and stuff. I don't disagree with that, but why the separation between man and nature? Why do we assume that we're different than the spontaneous, original art and artistic creation of nature? Why do we separate ourselves from, why is a painter different than a shooting star? Because there's no God to create it, but we think we're gods if we think we're the creators of art. We're just expressing art. It's flowing through us like it flows through the rest of nature. And I hope I hope this is making sense because it's a very hard thing to talk about. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. So let me know what you think, and if you think I need more definitions, let's keep talking about this because I like where we're going with this.